Hey, Sean, John Scott, good to see you. You had
Yeah.
mentioned after the game last night how your front four was not producing pressure themselves. So when you looked at the tape, what other observations did you see from your defense's performance last night?
Well, I thought we were inconsistent overall. You know, it was a player here, a player there, call here, call there, we'd like back. Just overall, we had some good moments and then some moments we want back. And so those are learning lessons for us as we move forward as a football team. We're developing this defense. We're not where we need to be. I think anyone that you would ask would say the same thing. Inside of our building, we've got some work to do, and there's some new pieces, and we've had some things, some lack of continuity, I guess you could say, because of the bumps and bruises we've had at times defensively. But listen, that's all. That's just kind of all the different variables that have been into the bucket of improving our defense. So, at the end of the day, I thought we did some good things in the game, and then some things obviously we can do better as well.
With the front four and producing pressure, can you put your finger on why that hasn't been consistent, at least from my perspective, the first month or so of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with coordination. We got to make sure we're coordinated. And so if we're taking an inside move, that someone covers us on the outside, and so on and so forth. So, and it also means getting teams into third and long, and situationally being stronger in those third down and long situations. So, there's a lot that goes into it. It starts with the mentality, though, a physical, nasty mentality on early downs.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, John Worrell with the AP. Hope you had a safe trip home. And just wondering, looking ahead with the concerns you have on defense and knowing what kind of offense the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid has, I'm just wondering what concerns you have there and how quickly you have to make some changes or fix these issues, knowing what you're facing going up against on Monday.
Yeah, they're a good opponent, very good opponent. Obviously, the world champions and extremely talented on offense with all the weapons, starting with the quarterback and all the way through their offensive line to the tight ends to the receivers. So, and the backs now with Clyde there. So, very talented offense that only got stronger through their draft this year, and they've put up a lot of points. And they're well coached as we know with Andy. So they'll be ready.
Knowing Andy, how much do you know he's going to look at game tape and see how he can affect this defense?
Well, Andy's listen, I learned under Andy, so I know how hard he works. I know what type of coach he is, and as I said before, his team will be ready to go.
And last thing, just about Andy, I'm sure you probably have talked to him since the Super Bowl championship. All pleasantries aside for this week?
Yeah, I'm sure he wants to kick my butt, and we're going to want to do the same. I mean, that's the one thing I know about Andy. The off season is the off season, and in season is the in season. So when we play each other, we go hard at each other, and then before and after the game, we're friends. I think we have a mutual respect for each other and a good friendship.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Sean. It's Sal. Just piggybacking on John's question a little while ago about the front four, just as a defensive coach and play caller, how do you strike the balance and the challenge of getting pressure however you can, to get to the quarterback, but also trying to set the edge? Jerry talked about that a little bit last night, and, trying to maybe be as efficient as he can, but at the same time, he knows he let, Ryan Tannehill get around the edge a little bit. So how hard is that? From a defensive standpoint, to say, yeah, we want you to do whatever you can, but we also have to kind of be aware of the edge here to make sure that you're in the right spot.
Well, it comes down to being 111th, doing your job and playing smart. I mean, Jerry's had a good season to this point, just 5 games in, and I really appreciate his effort. He's one of our leaders on defense and on the football team. And, that said, we've got to play smarter in certain situations, not just Jerry, but all of us. And that leads back to the consistency that I discussed earlier to the earlier question there. Sal, some things we can do better on defense is the overall consistency of our unit.
And I mean, just, when you talk about 111th, and that's, everybody kind of knowing their role, but Is it that much? I mean, your defense, I guess I would say maybe the sum is greater than the parts sometimes. Is that, kind of a good way to put it? If everybody's kind of on board and doing what they're doing, it's not about one guy. And if one guy's off, then it's kind of affect everybody else. Would that be a good way to say it?
Yeah, and that's where it comes down to how you play good team defense.
Mm-hmm.
So we subscribe to playing team defense, and I think that's a big piece of it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, with the Chiefs taking Patrick Mahomes in 2017 and the Bills drafting Josh Allen in 2018, and just seeing how these two franchises have built their teams and have had success thus far, the Chiefs making it to the Super Bowl and winning it, what strikes you as the most unique way that the Chiefs built their franchise in the last couple of years? And then what is something that you learned most from Andy Reid that still stays with you?
Well, I learned a lot. I could talk for hours about what I learned from Andy. I mean, he's probably my biggest mentor in the business. And I think the biggest thing I learned from Andy is just, when he got the job in Philadelphia, he had a plan and a vision, and a lot of people have the vision for where they want to go, but the day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month plan to accomplish that vision, I think, was probably the biggest thing, and how to execute that and adjust as need be. And then just overall what they've done building, a world champion football team and continuing to add to it. I think that speaks for itself. I mean, they've signed a lot of players there and some big name guys with the defense and the offense. So, they've done a good job of signing and re-signing difference makers on their roster. And I think that's something that a lot of people will look at and try and emulate.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Josh Reed here. Any update on Tre'Davious White and his back and Matt Milano as well?
Yeah, they're both improving, Josh. That's really all I know right now. Obviously, just kind of getting off the film here and just the first day after the game. So I know they're both improving. We'll just have to see how the next couple of days go.
I should have added John Brown to that list. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
How about John as well?
Yeah, I would say the same.
Okay. Cam Lewis get kind of thrown into the fire a little bit last night. When you go back and watch the game film, how would you assess how he played?
Yeah, I thought he'd handle himself, well. It's one thing to get your first action, real significant action, a line of scrimmage position like corner, and in a 1 o'clock game, let alone a night primetime game, and against a team that was in the AFC Championship game. So I thought he really handled himself well. Certainly things that he would tell you that he wants back as well and wants to improve on. And I think that's all part of our things that we learned from this game, not only Cam, but our entire football team.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it, man.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Thad Brown. Appreciate the time as always. Could you also update Dawson Knox and Quentin Spain?
Yeah, we'll see with Dawson how the week goes. I know we got some pictures taken today a little bit, and so I'm waiting on those results. And Q Spain is kind of in the improving category, I guess. And so we just got to see again what just first day off the game and what tomorrow looks like. Really tomorrow morning as they go through the next kind of 12 to 18 hours here.
With Dawson, you say pictures taken. Do you mean MRI?
I'm not even sure. MRI, X-ray.
Or X-ray, yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting. I haven't checked in with Nate yet. So
after looking back at the whole weekend, I don't know how much you talked about this last night, but last night was kind of heat of the battle. How hard was it for you to get ready for a game with all the uncertainty that you guys had, last week, going into the weekend, everything else you had to deal with time of game, that stuff?
Yeah, well, there's always challenges every season. And we know this year is probably unparalleled with the challenges, but at the same time, we're just a group that I think is resilient. We've shown that to this point. Now, last night we didn't show that, but I'm confident that we'll continue to show it. And there'll be other moments where we have to lean on that and lean on each other, and we're able to take some of that out of last night's game. Obviously, not as much as I would have hoped. And so, like I said last night, that we don't make any excuses about our performance. And at the end of the day, I got to have my team ready to go.
To have them ready to go for this week, it's another weird week in terms of prep. Do you kind of look at what happened last weekend and burn it and do something totally different this weekend, or how do you make the adjustments?
Well, we learned from last week. There's certainly a lot of things we can learn from it, and I go back and evaluate our routine that we used. I'm not sure we'll have another week like we had last week, and if we do, then I'll use the experience that I just had going through it and try and make our team better because of it. So it all comes down to I know I'm confident in our football team. I'm confident in our resiliency as a football team. I'm confident that we'll bounce back and have a good week of practice this week as we prepare for the Chiefs.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
Yep, sure.
Hey, Sean, kind of just actually going off of what you just said, is there a benefit that this week is another strange week and that you can kind of just put that game behind you guys super quickly and immediately start focusing on the Chiefs, considering it's already Wednesday, but it almost feels like it's a Monday? You're basically having to rush things along. Is there a benefit there?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's a benefit if you're wired the right way and how you handle the week-to-week, approach of the NFL. You get to a position where we were 4-0, and we have a game that was uncharacteristic of ourselves, but at the same time, certainly things kind of underneath that we got to get fixed and that were brought front and center to our attention. So we got to pay attention to those things. Make sure we continue to improve and make the adjustments we need to make. And as you mentioned, turn the page. It's on to the Kansas City Chiefs, who are a very, very strong football team and a team that, I think the whole NFL honestly is chasing right now.
Micah mentioned last night that good teams learn from losses like you guys had yesterday. And I know this is kind of an open-ended question, but when will you know if you have learned from the loss last night? Is it just with your preparation this week? Is it at the end of the season and you see how you guys responded? Or is it even longer than that? When do you learn whether or not this team learned from last night?
Yeah, I think it'll be incrementally. I was around some of the players today a little bit for bits and pieces of my morning. So I'm able to get a vibe for where they are, how they feel, and just listening to some of their talk. And then as we go through the week, and then certainly, the next game and on through the season, and these are the moments that make you stronger. You learn from adverse times in your life. And I've said to the players before, I'd rather have a player that's been through stuff in their lives than a player who hasn't, because I know that they've had to deal with some stuff in their life, and I think that just builds that resiliency and that mental fortitude, if you will, that mental toughness that we all need to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here.
Thank you, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, going back to 2018, obviously you like Josh Allen enough in the pre-draft process that, you say, yeah, this is the quarterback we want on this team. But was there ever a moment either in training camp or practice where he made a throw or he made a play and something clicked in your head and you said, wow, no, this guy's really going to be something. He's really going to be special?
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, Marcel, and, from when we did our scouting diligence with him and Brandon and his staff did their process, went through their process to the time where, we picked him, to the couple of days when he came to visit, and then we got him in camp. And then when he got his first action, you just watch how the game wasn't too big for him. And then he had the injury the first year, how he bounced back from that and learned from it. And I just think just his evolution over the last, couple of years here has been fun to watch, but that's what you want. And last night's game, I know, was not what we want. And Josh will be the first to tell you that. And it's not what I want either. I've got to do a better job as well. And so, but these are moments as we continue to grow and learn that we'll use as we continue to move forward as a football team.
Gotcha. And just to follow up, how often does he make throws in practice that kind of make you take a step back and shake your head in a good way?
Yeah, I mean, you see some of the throws he made last night, and I'm watching them on the film this morning and last night, and I'm just, you're saying, wow, do I really want to make in that throw? Some of those, but that's part of who he is too, and so there's a delicate balance there of allowing him to be who he is and being a steward of the ball and taking care of the football and because we know how important the ball is to successful outcomes. And so I wanted him to be himself. I want him to be his true self and express his true personality and continue to grow and learn like he's done so well to this point.
Gotcha. Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Sorry, we're having some issues with Kim here. Hold on one second.
I think I'm unmuted.
I got you, Kim.
Okay. Hi, Sean. Thank you so much. I'm wondering, when you signed Josh Norman, who was on kind of the wrong side a couple plays last night, how do you envision best case scenario using Josh Norman? And I'm also curious if, and I don't know the setup you have there, obviously, but would you consider taking a bigger role in the defensive play calling to kind of get what you want out of that unit?
Listen, those conversations I'll just keep in-house, really, Kim. And I've got a lot of confidence in Leslie Frazier. He's championed this defense since we've been here, and they've been at the top of the NFL for a couple of years now. So the first piece of that with respect to Josh Norman, we obviously spent time together, Josh and myself, in Carolina, and he was at the top of his game back then, and all I know about it is what I saw in Carolina. I certainly saw the film from Washington, and I think now, hopefully in this system, he has a chance to recapture some of that. Obviously, X amount of years later. So, but that takes time. That takes polishing and repolishing and detailing and disciplining and all those types of things that go with playing consistent football. And listen, I know he was on, like as you said, the other end of it last night, a couple of plays, but that's going to happen. When you play in this league, you got to be able to reset, refocus, and get back on it. And I know Josh will do that.
Thank you, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, it's Jay with the Buffalo News. You had 9 pre-snap penalties last night. Does that number drive you as crazy as I feel like it might?
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. I mean, we had 10, I believe it was 10 total penalties, and 9 of which were, as you mentioned, pre-snap. And that's unacceptable. That's something we talk about all the time. You walk into our team meetings, and between the ball and discipline, those are 2 things we talk about constantly. And so when I said it was uncharacteristic of our football team, that's what I meant. And so, but if you don't fix it, you can't just let it go, right? It's not just going to fix itself. So we need to address it. And I expect each and every one of us will take our piece of it, and we'll learn and grow from it. But you can't expect to win when you've basically shot yourself in the foot, for lack of a better term, before the ball's even snapped. I can handle aggressive penalties, but I can't handle lack of discipline penalties.
On a separate note, can you give us a sense of what Tremaine is going through right now in terms of, he played every snap, but maybe he's not 100%. He's been dealing with that shoulder injury. Just physically, what he's gutting through, and then maybe how that is or maybe isn't impacting his performance on the field.
Well, I think with each week, he's of the last couple of weeks in particular, he's gotten healthier, and so that's been good to see. I know he was certainly working through the shoulder earlier in the year there, and but I appreciate the way he's leading our defense, getting us lined up like a Mike linebacker does, and I think we'll continue to see him grow and develop, and and learn as he does. And when he does, he'll continue to grow and improve.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Mike Catalana. Obviously, you earned where you are, being an excellent defensive coach. You're in charge of the whole team now. But do you still feel it more when your defense doesn't play the way you want them to play?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I'm not laughing at your question. I'm just, if you could only be in my brain right now, Mike, on the plane last night and trying to sleep a couple hours last night, you don't want to be there. It's just something I take a lot of pride in, and it means a lot to me. It means a lot to our football team. I know these guys take a lot of pride in what they do, and I know our defensive coaches do the same, and I've got a lot of confidence in those guys. And obviously things we have to continue to work on and grow and develop. This defense this year, certainly some new pieces to it, and so it's a big part of my mentality, and I haven't been satisfied, quite honestly, with where we are at this point defensively, but I remain confident in the unit.
And one quick thing back to Andy Reid. There's always the new, hot, young coordinators. And you've been around Andy for a long time, or have been. Are you even amazed that the game changes, everything changes, and all these years later, he's still at the top, or right at the top, as a play caller and an offensive guy?
Yeah, they showed, I think, his number of wins the other night when I was watching the game, and just incredible, right? And I remember years ago in the Eagles parking lot, sitting there when I was on the staff, and he had gone through some tough years and some adverse times, and record wasn't all that great, and then just his consistency really helped keep the team on track. And now to see what he's put together over the years, it just, to me, goes back to his process and really his again, consistency and consistent personality and the way he handles the team. And I think that gives them the best chance to win. And so just incredible teacher for me in my career at an early age. And he's great now because I can still call him from time to time, and he still serves as a mentor for me.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Coach, good afternoon. Mookie Hawkins, 404 Sports 1080. How was your sleep?
Yeah.
Right.
Not very long. Yeah.
Now, I didn't get that much sleep as well, Coach. But I mean, overall, everything that you and your team have had to go through last week, what's just your overall assessment?
Well, I think there's things we can learn from last week, going back to the process leading up to the game and evaluating that, and then in the game itself. And we went against a good opponent, and they beat us. And some of that was us beating ourselves. I give credit where credit's due. They were ready, and like I said, I didn't have my team ready. Excuse me. But that chapter's closed. We've got to learn from it, move on, and continue to grow as a football team. This is a defending world champions coming in here this weekend or Monday night. So it'll be a fun week.
Absolutely. And, yesterday, Coach, we talked about dealing with emotion versus consistency. And, sometimes it takes a loss for a great team to bounce back. You know what I mean? So what do you think, how do you think your team is going to respond against Kansas City and, with them dealing with a big loss as well against the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of this league. It's week to week. You've got to bring your A game every week, remain humble and hungry, and continue to reinvent yourself every week. And that's the growth mindset that we try and embrace, and that's what we've got to do this week as we get ready for the Chiefs.
Absolutely, Coach. Big week. It's time to get to work.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.